Okay. What is up, YouTube? We are back to a normal scheduling. Had to do a little bit of reserve time. Made some short videos and clips. I hope you enjoyed them. And for the first episode back, I am here with
Stephen Chacko, owner, developer, real estate developer, own apartments in Fort Worth, and own some other real estate endeavors as well
That's awesome. And how long you been doing real estate?
for over 20 years.
Over 20 years. Now, what got you involved in politics in general?
I think my father, being a Christian minister, kind of knew that he was not going to sit on the sidelines of issues. So I followed my father, standing up for the people that were disheartened or that were not getting a fair shake in society.
Love that. Fair shake in society. Now, where did we meet? I think we met at like a little happy, no, it was a Better Dallas, like secret covert meeting.
Yeah.
At
It
some
was
time,
a
we're like,
secret covert meeting. Haley Keys was trying to take over the world, or Texas at least. And we were conspirators.
yeah, we
We
were.
were going to be the J6ers.
Yeah, something. I'm too cheap to buy a flight, though. That's the only reason I didn't show up to that thing. I was like, man, I don't know. It's cold as hell out there.
You gotta love her. She's very passionate. Just she works her rear off to get people going. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, Haley's built a really good organization here in Dallas. So we're going to talk obviously some national things, then we're going to dive in a little bit to Texas. But really, between me and you, I mean, we're into real estate. We see a lot of opportunity, obviously, in DFW. We see some problems, and you're definitely going to talk about a few of them. We're in tax season.
Yep.
And so that kind of provides us with a unique opportunity to talk about a few things that you're dealing with personally
Right.
on your side of town, being from Tarrant, in which it really is an in-depth, we're going to have essentially an in-depth lesson. You're not going to hear about in any investing in real estate 101 or any book or anything like that. I mean, and I think it's made that way on purpose. Nobody wants to write about it. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that a little bit later. But coming in just now, I'm going to pop this up on the screen. From the Hill, House GOP adopts Trump's budget after topsy-turvy night. So this first month of Donald Trump has been an absolute whirlwind. Better than I expected. Trump 2.0 kicking ass. What do you think?
Amazing. It's amazing how many people that are completely agreeing from both the right and especially the left. I'm so surprised the left are. You have some fringes, but the left is really actually saying, "Hey, this is a good thing." The voters of the left, or at least, are saying this is a good thing. We're not seeing too many huge protests where it's stopping Dallas traffic in the middle of the tracks or anything. We're seeing some protests, but not like enough to really like. Not during the BLM experience, I guess.
Nothing that makes you want to stand back and stand by.
Correct. Yeah. We're all. Don't get me wrong. We're Texans, and we're what we call strapped and ready to cap. So.
Exactly. Well, one thing that really has me thinking, and we live in a representative republic, and I don't like what I'm about to say, but unfortunately, we're kind of at this spot where it's like, Trump moving so fast and doing so many things has kind of shown how absolutely worthless Congress is right now.
Right.
Just since November 7th, let's say, right? You have known you're going to have X amount you're going to at least control the House, at least control the Senate. And we're kind of getting this 11th hour budget where they say, oh, we're going to save 4.7 or whatever number was in here, $4.7 trillion. If anyone believes that, you just showed up to the party That's over 10 years, and that's all weighted year 6, 7,
Yep.
and 8. That is never going to happen. That never has happened.
Yep.
Anytime these people talk about these quote unquote savings, they never come to fruition. In fact, the programs they say they're going to cut or dwindle down in 6 or 7 years just continue to grow.
It's a situation where it sounds good on paper. It sounds good for a media tidbit, but the reality is not really that way. And like you said, it's heavy on the front side, and then it disappears or whatever. So we're all being delusion, what I call it. So
Yeah, you know, we're seeing all the headlines about Doge talking about savings, and they're talking about this number and that number and all these different things. But, people I really do think need to realize that ultimately, unless Congress comes around and actually solidifies these cuts, they're either going to just be in limbo until Trump leaves office, and let's say a Democratic president that's ideologically opposed to this and wants his swamp back to operate the way that Democrats generally want DC to operate. Because remember, 94% of them voted for Kamala Harris. It's almost been, I think, 94% since George Bush. So these people
in DC though,
in DC, that's what I'm saying. In
Washington
DC,
DC,
in Washington DC, yes, and in the surrounding counties.
yeah, correct.
Let's say they don't codify this into law or make the actual budget cuts in Congress and pass them through the Senate. These jobs are going to come right back.
So I used to live in DC 20 years.
Let's hear it.
Kyle knows that I used to live there. I did real estate up there. It's like a third world country. I don't know if any of your readers, your viewers need to know that there was actually the license plate is called taxation without representation.
Yeah.
They got passed up there. And when you lived in the District of Columbia, not in the surrounding patterns of Maryland or Virginia, you saw what was going on up there. I saw Donald Trump before Donald Trump ever existed in the DC vocabulary, because I saw no common sense. I saw blatant abuse of taxpayers' dollars, and it was unimaginable from a person that's coming from the perspective of this doesn't make sense. Common sense is out the window. And the thought there is, well, we're the experts. We know our government more than you do, and that is how the game is played. That's what we do. I am the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I know how to protect you from fraudsters or whatever.
Yep.
And we're seeing that recently on 60 Minutes. Some of the most blatant, screaming of these worker bees that were up there that were literally trying to run everything. And it's it made America more of a bureaucracy
Yep.
than anything else. And so, and me and you, we're in real estate. And when we do real estate, we want ease of capital. We want ease of permitting. We want ease of fixing the property to do it right, And so when we don't see that up there in politics, or like even in the government itself with these different workers, they have a philosophy like, I am greater than you. How dare you think that you are smarter than me? How, I am the king and queen of America. So that's what happened in District of Columbia. And so that's what's going on up there. And you can even hear them in the 60 Minutes interview talk about, well, we're the experts. we're the experts.
And it still hasn't dawned on them that like America doesn't want them to
Yeah.
be the expert.
Yeah.
I mean, but here's the thing: they can literally write laws that used to be reserved for Congress, and now Congress has, again, talking about how worthless they are or how much they don't do. They shucked off that responsibility to these individual institutions and say,
Yeah.
hey, you go write the laws. So can you really blame them? And they've been unopposed.
Correct. There it is.
Ask them, hey, what have you done this week? They haven't had that question in years.
Right. As friends, me and Kyle, one thing I ask of you all the time as my friend is to be honest with me.
Yeah.
If my breath stinks, if you don't tell me my breath stinks,
Yeah.
I don't like you as my friend. You're not my friend no more. You know, you have got to give me the truth and honesty. That's called accountability. That's called responsibility. The District of Columbia, the people that work there, it wasn't that way. It was a level of G level, they call it. You get to certain levels of government levels.
GS-15,
Yes,
GS-16,
yes, yes.
GS-99. Yeah, you
Yes,
start making big bucks.
So when I went to DC right after college thinking I'm going to go save the world. I'm going to go work in government. I'm going to work for the President's Export Council. I thought that, oh, what a great sounding name underneath the Department of Commerce. And I thought I was going to be a government employee. I remember looking at a cubicle for over 6 months and then realizing this is not me. I got way more energy. And one thing I did realize about myself, I was really good about opening the meetings to the conversation they were needing somebody to, hey, we need somebody to open the meeting for these dignitaries or people that the top exporters of the United States, like Michael Armstrong of AT&T and all that. And I turned to them and said, I can do that. Being a preacher's kid and getting in front of the church, I could do that all day. So I started doing that and I thought, wow. And everybody was really excited about it. I thought this is like, hey, this is really good. But I noticed something. There was a lot of jealousy.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I thought I did good. You did. But, I thought about going into a career for that. And they were like, oh, no. You got to have multiple degrees and you got to get your degree in speeches and all. I mean, like, I looked at them like, I'm doing great.
Yep.
And so it was no encouragement of common sense. And if you had multiple degrees and that's where you would, before you ever even greeted anybody in your office, you would say, my name is Stephen Chacko. I went to Harvard.
Yep.
I am this. I am that.
It's the Credential Society.
I am the Credential Society. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't fit in there well because, I don't have a college degree, but
Me neither. I'd college dropout too. You.
I probably, look, there's no government, there's no job like a government job. But real quick, I pulled up the list talking about voting Democrat. Really, it's been 80% above since 1964. Only 2 times did it barely go under, and that was in 72 and in 1980 for Jimmy Carter. But Al Gore, 85%, John Kerry, 89%, Barack Obama, 92%, Barack Obama, 90%, Hillary Clinton, 90%, Joe Biden, 92%, Kamala Harris this last time, 90%. So think about this. We have all of America voting. This is, as of right now, the administrative state. They have positioned themselves to be the cerebral cortex of this society.
Right. Yeah.
And they control it. That is the deep state. That is the administrative state. Yep. If you're, and this is the problem that Donald Trump had when he won the first time, he thought, okay, cool. Let's let bygones be bygones. I'm not going to go after Hillary Clinton. Like, we're cool, right? No, sir. You don't understand. This is not a business transaction for these are fundamental radicals, and they seek out, because they've gone to the school, they have the PhD, they read Marx, they read Lenin.
They're way more smarter than me and you. How dare you, as a human being or American citizen, require them to be questioned, So it's like there's a saying that some of the government employees are like, when they see a rock, instead of going around the rock, they try to go through the rock.
Yeah.
It's like, well, common sense says go around the rock. No. How dare we, and that's what the district was very good about being was they were in their little monolithic, like their monolithic, their place.
Yep.
And they felt this safety of everybody living in the district. You got to remember, the district's only 60 miles square foot.
Yeah.
That's only 60 miles of a square foot. And it's within that district, it was calling cards. It was like, I live in the district, I don't live in Maryland. I live in DC.
Right.
And the lawyers, the amount of lawyers, every one of these organizations, from commerce to education and all that was the epicenter for the law firms after law firms, K Street and the lobbyists and all that. And it was insane. So yeah, the district is one of the it's made up of just people that think they're greater than any American citizen ever. So you don't know what I know. So I live in the district.
Yeah, 51% of senators are lawyers. I mean, I know you could be a lawyer in tons of things, and if Chris was here, he would fill us in on that. But
yeah.
For 51% of the people to be a specific thing, like 100%. One job title, yep. It's like, correct. Damn, dude. And honestly, who likes lawyers? I mean, Chris is okay.
We like Chris. But no, the law groups are designed to even more of a separation of society. I am a lawyer. I'm way more educated than you. Not that, like, I know the law. I went and I got my law degree. So therefore, you are a minute human being compared to me. So, and so talk about real estate up there in DC. I'll tell you a quick story about that.
Let's do it.
I had a house up there in DC, and one of the things I noticed was the amount of the realtors that was up there. It was insane that the neighbor next to me, and I lived on Yuma Street, and these homes were built in like the 1930s. So you could literally feel the wind coming through the house. These were 1930 built properties. When the family next door to me, the mom passed away, elderly lady passed away. The sons came to me, and I just got my house. I was owner financing it from a family, and I got lucky to get into that. And this house came up on sale. They said, "Hey, we're looking to sell it. Are you interested in buying it?" I should have got some investors at the time to buy it. They wanted about $425,000. Now up there, that was like, here in Texas, it's like a lot of money, but there it was like no big deal.
Right.
And the realtors up there, the way they work was they would take the market, and they would create a bidding war on purpose. So when the property went on the open house, somebody actually came there and said, "I got $420,000, $5,000 in cash." I mean, literally, he had a bag of cash. And he was willing to pay the cash for the property.
That's not good.
And so, but the family gave it to this realtor, right? The realtor turns around and says, "We take all offers for the next 2 weeks." So what do you think happened? The property, they got the top offers, and they kept calling them up and says, "Hey, we got 450. Would you go higher?" And then they called that person up and said, "We got 500. Will you go higher?"
Yep.
So they literally are sitting, and I remember seeing them, and I worked in fine dining, and they would come in and order, bottles of champagne, sitting there, and they were calling the people's numbers and saying, "How much higher can you go?" And they were bidding the properties up artificially to do what? They would say they're giving it back to the family member, but really they're bidding the marketplace. So it raised that property, sold in 2 weeks after it went on the market from $425. What do you think it sold for, Kyle?
500?
$680,000.
Damn, that's quite the run up.
Yeah.
That's like super low price to run it up. I mean, I did that when I was a realtor too, but not that drastic.
Oh, it's drastic up there. Because
crazy.
you got to remember, the whole world is in District of Columbia, right? And it's such a transient city that the world will always, like you said, the bureaucracy. This is where the sausage is made. You know, we can go up there and we can make anything happen. And so now, if you're watching what's happening in the real estate market in DC now, it is crap. People are.
It's not good over there.
It is not good. The market, I think it's hilarious. I think it's such a correction that it's so many properties on the market that it's just incredible, you know. And I think Trump is extremely smart. And I thought about Trump's vision as just a common man on the street. Why do we have to have all these departments here on Pennsylvania Avenue? The District of Columbia, the city itself, didn't get one dime in property tax from any of those government buildings. They didn't get a dime.
Really? Okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
They didn't get a dime from any of those.
Yeah.
And so all that money was just like no big deal. The slush fund of the politicians, they loved the district because they could control how the district was working.
Right.
And the government workers were like, you know, that's what's going on. So the government workers are right now in the news. Oh, we have civil rights. We have our rights here being violated and all that, civil servants and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the Constitution is not there for them. You know, the Constitution is for all of us as citizens. And it's so funny. It's like how they think that the Constitution is. That's that side of America. How dare you look at us? We're not with the Constitution. We're above the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, when they say constitutional crisis, my civil rights, they're not actually they
have no clue.
They're completely disconnected from actually those things, and you know, a lot of them are just repeating what their union reps are saying to say.
And I think last year the case called Chevron case was the crack in the dam.
Oh yeah.
That was where finally the United States Supreme Court said that the Chevron case, and if you know the story about it, it's about some of these people that were government officials going on the fishing boats, and they were telling like how they were literally on the boat telling you what you could do or could not do. And that became a big case. And finally, the Supreme Court last year said, no, you unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat are not the official end on be all. So if you want to take that person, go to court with it. You're not going to be the person that says that's it. You know, you're not going to do that anymore. So that was a crack in the dam. I think it was a huge case. And it opened up the doors for all of us as citizens to have, you know, the government is not the end all be all. They're not always right. So we shouldn't always give them credibility. Look, we need to be mindful and respectful for anybody within our work. Whenever we work with anybody, we do that in politics, or we do that when we pull permits, or we do that when we have inspectors, or whatever the deals are. We have to be mindful of those people that are coming out and being respectful to them. But we can't be to a point where we're like bowing down to them. You know, they're our equal. We want to respect them, but we're not going to bow down to them.
Yeah, we're not going to bow, especially to once you come right out of an election where obviously you win the Electoral College and you win the popular vote, which hasn't happened for Republicans in a long time, you know, just the way that the cities are and those are the hubs and those are the liberal spots, and it is kind of more like a fit in to get in type situation, which is fun living in Dallas, because Dallas itself, the city is blue, but I think I'm just spitballing here at this point, but I really do feel like it's one of those few cities where you can be conservative, or maybe not conservative, like Republican, or just not liberal, let's say, and everyone's still cool with it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, we can go down to these different districts in Dallas, and obviously, you know, some people do, like, there's truth to every stereotype. So when I see someone with like a nose ring, blue hair, a bunch of like, I'm like, okay, they're liberal, and they take a look at me, and I have like a red "Make Politicians Afraid Again" hat or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they know, and
Yeah.
I know they know, I
Yeah.
know they know. Like, but everyone's like, oh, hey, what's going on? Like, I don't know if people still get on in other towns like in LA, or if you can do that in New York City, and if you go to Portland. I don't know if you could do that and not feel like I'm choosing violence. Like I'm choosing to get in a huge argument with someone today.
I think Texas has that common, it's how you're raised kind of philosophy here. There's this natural small town America feel here. And yeah, you can have blue hair and have a nose ring or 20 rings here, and people will still talk to you like a normal human being. I think Dallas, especially in Texas, is one of the true areas where you can bond with people of different sides just by just talking to them. I've seen that. I think a good example of that is if you saw what happened with Luca, the trade in Luca.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, both sides of the Mab family, of all the left and all the right, came together because it was so maddening to them that they got rid of their golden boy. They're like
Yeah.
they're one person, and blue hair, green hair, cowboy, whatever. They all were lifting that casket they made up of like, how dare you get rid of a great icon like Luca? So I think there are times in our society where people with common sense come together. It doesn't matter the way they look and feel. I think those things change. Last year, I think I told you I was working on the Hero program, getting the signatures for Hero in Dallas.
For Dallas, yeah.
Dallas. That was a great program, and both right and left were signing those petitions to keep their city council accountable. There was that Hero Fund was like, let's make more cops.
Was it STU propositions?
Yeah, correct. And so I think that was huge, and it was great to work on that campaign. I believed in it. The people that were working with it was a great vision. There was some kickback from some of the police department associations and everything, but I remember I went to Cowboys Red River and I met with the president of the Dallas Police Association,
Nice.
who was like, literally like, this is wrong. I don't like this and this. And I would call up my friends, just my friends, but people that were working with the Heroes, the campaign, and I would tell them the concerns I had, and they listened to it, and they reached out to that president of that association. So I think there's both sides of that. Like people want safety. Both of us agree, both right and left agree. We want safety. We don't want to be able to be strapped every day of the week, walking down the street, watching our back or watching our sticks or anything. We want our community to be safe. We want prosperity. We want people to have the right to develop their businesses and grow. And especially in real estate, we want people where to live and feel safe to go outside and run with their dog or whatever like that, and enjoy the parks and everything like that. So I think we're blessed in many, many ways to be living in Dallas, because you go around the nation in other societies, other areas, it's very unsafe to even go walk in the park.
We definitely are blessed. We're blessed, but it is kind of it's fate that we're in the situation we're in because of our parents putting in the work before us and their parents putting in the work before them. Right. This is a generational thing that our city, the state, has created a delta against other cities and states that are shitholes.
Correct.
It comes with hard work.
Right, hard work, determination. Texans, you look at all the land around us, you can still see remnants of small ranches.
Yeah.
In the middle of by the DFW airport. I can show you
Yeah.
where a stock tank is. Right by the airport. It's these are all ranches and farms and all that. So there's a great history of this hard work community being here always in generational. So just the way we're raised in society and Americanism 101 has done that very, very, very well because it told the people that, I don't know, you know the story about the kids getting off at school at 3 p.m. You know why, right?
No, why?
You never knew that? The story of why they let the kids out at 3 p.m.?
No.
They had to get home to get work on the farm.
Oh, I thought this was a punchline joke or something.
No. The kids were like...
No.
So there's always the school was letting out at 3 p.m. and the kids had to come home and work on the farm.
Well, generally speaking, our current school cycle is based off of crops.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the 3 p.m. thing is, putting the kids in school was to raise the tax revenue for the government, and then getting women back into the workforce was to almost double the tax revenue.
Yeah.
But
they had to get home. They were told, like, you can have until 3 o'clock. It was child labor in America. It was child labor in America. They had to be home. They had to have the work chores done during daylight. They couldn't be home too late. Yeah.
Couldn't be home too late. But speaking of land, from Zero Hedge, Zelensky to visit White House Friday to sign minerals deal.
What do you think that is about?
Well, I think in 2016, one thing that first got me listening to Donald Trump was, we should have took the oil.
Yeah.
We should have took the oil. And I mean, he's right. We go and do these things. And I understand to the more sophisticated listeners that, yes, we made infrastructure deals. We did this, we did that. But just like the raw taking of for the benefit of everyone, not just Halliburton and Dick Cheney and everything like that. This right here, a minerals deal, an exclusive right for this or that. I think if depending on how the deal plays out and what it actually ends up look like, Zelensky could be coming Friday. Zelensky is in a very all parties involved are in a really weird situation right now. Like the EU, NATO is in a weird situation. The EU's I know it overlaps. EU, Russia's in a weird situation. Ukraine is in the oddest situation. And then America's like, dude, what are we doing here?
You're right.
Because we just got the election, whole new administration. But Zelensky is between a rock and a hard spot. And ultimately what Zelensky is, there is no party involved that wants to send their own citizens to Ukraine to die. And they are going to run out of men.
Yep.
They are going to, if we can give them all the money, all the weapons, they are going to run out of young men that are going to die. Their desertion rate is through the roof right now.
Right.
And with Europe, it's very easy to leave Ukraine and get to another country, and they can't export you back to Ukraine to go fight. So he has to come to the table.
Yeah.
Now, he could have made a better deal. And he tried to make a deal. In his defense, I'm not a big fan of Zelensky.
I'm not either.
And I said this whole thing was going to be a racket from the beginning.
Of course,
and all the little people with the Ukraine flag in their bio and shit.
Yeah.
All of them are on too fat to serve.
Yeah.
They never served in their life. They don't know anything about political corruption. They don't know anything about Slavs.
How dare you, Kyle?
Dude, I was getting torn up. I was like, no, I think this is a huge mistake.
I want to turn into that girl, Greta. How dare you?
How dare you? So he was trying to make a deal, and again, I consider myself Republican. We had senators in the United States, mainly like there was Mitch McConnell, but there's Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham is the biggest.
Zelensky, you got friends over here. You're just doing bang old job over there.
Yeah,
it's like, dude. When you say that with the backdrop of like young men fighting in trenches and throwing fire on top of each other is a wild thing to say, but he thought he had all the money and all the weapons, and eventually he was going to get NATO membership, and then there we would be in Ukraine for some reason, on the Euro step, but now They told him don't make a deal over a year and a half ago, 2 year. Well, this started in 2020, so let's say 2023. They said don't make a deal.
Well, remember
been a better deal.
who was running the administration? It was a
Right.
dead man,
Right.
man walking, right?
Right.
Dead man walking. It was a group of people that was like, it was a money laundering scheme.
Oh yes.
It was just pure money laundering.
People.
So at the end of the day, this deal right here, go back to the top of the headline, the minerals. This is the Trump playing chess. This is the, what do they call it? The checkmate piece. Once we get the mineral deal, the war is over.
The war is over.
The war is over. And guess what? Because we're in it. It's our interest.
It's our interest.
It's our interest.
Yeah.
Kyle, if you came and said, Chacko, I'm going to give you money to fix your property, you're not going to give me a high five at the end of the day. You need that money back, right?
Dude, I'm going to be a debt service. I'm going to be first in line on the debt.
Yeah, you're going to get the first dollar profit, right?
Yes.
Because you let me borrow money so I have a chance to make more money. The whole thing about the Zelensky thing was we needed to know, we as society were just, first of all, the Biden administration was making it, oh, look, a poor Ukraine, but yeah, they invaded. But, what are you doing provoking a bear? You're provoking literally a bear named Putin.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it made them actually kind of open the doors and showed us that Russia's maybe they're not all that bag of chips, right? And so it was kind of funny how that worked out. But I also think that the whole, the money from the mineral rights, we were always going after that. That was the ultimate goal, the rare earth minerals.
Right.
And that was our number one goal. Even old South Carolina, Lindsey Graham talked about that. Like, we can get the minerals, rare earth minerals.
Well, see, now Biden, in this case, he knew there was money in Ukraine because his son was getting the
exactly
top
Charisma.
month. Yeah, 400,000, slow month 80,000, just depending on how good the pipes were flowing. So he knew there was money there, and so he said, so he kind of had his administration kind of had the foresight on that. A couple things on the Russia thing about, I hear, Dan Crenshaw and Lindsey Graham talking about it's a really great investment, ROI, however they say it during their 2-minute clip, on we're paying other people to kill our enemy. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That in a vacuum is probably a correct statement if you were in a war college, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things wrong with it. I do agree that right there, this war has really exposed the necessity for not needing NATO or having a NATO that we're not paying almost 65% of the weight for. You're telling me, so when this thing kicked off in 2022, I might get the dates wrong, 2022, they're coming from the north in Belarus, they're coming from the east in Russia, and they're going down the highways. They're trying to get to Kiev. America scrambles, starts sending them random weapons caches. We're sending them as many Stinger missiles as we can get, or whatever the new modern thing is for it. So we essentially just flooded the place with what we could get them, but really it was not a lot. Zelensky opens up his armories. He just tells his citizens, just come and get them.
Yep.
Right. He couldn't mobilize correctly.
Right.
And it's a very tricky thing to do. Right.
Right.
Anyways, they never even make it to Kiev. They make it very close, but they don't actually get to Kiev. So that tells me everyone's worried about Russia rolling across Poland, coming into Deutschland, going into Berlin, going down to Paris. It's like, dude, they could not get to Kiev, which is like 20%. People consider them Russian.
Yeah.
20%. They call themselves Russian. They have Russian heritage. They want to be a part of Russia. They could not get to there.
Yeah.
NATO is done, dude. NATO is. We need to get out of there. We're paying, 3.4% on a $30 trillion economy, and you got Estonia throwing in $40,000 or something, and they're like, "Hey, we're all even, right?" Fuck you. No, we're not even, dude. That's not okay.
Yes. So I think the only thing I would clap back a little bit with is
Do it.
We need to have the chess pieces over there in Europe, because Europe is a necessary ally. And yeah, no doubt, Trump is the first one, and he's in our presidency that said, "Hey guys, pay your fair share. Let's go.
Let's go.
You need to put your money in. We're doing all the legwork and all the hard work." And so it's Trump is actually a CPA. Trump is actually the CPA of the nation, the world. He's going around and says, "Hey, by the way, you owe this much money.
Yeah.
This is the accountability for you. You want that safety? I'll give it to you." Now, what do we do very, very well in America? We sell what?
Weapons.
Weapons.
Lots of weapons.
Lots of weapons. What do we sell close
It's a big
by?
deal.
Kyle, what do we do? What do we sell right down the road? We sell the Glock of the world, don't we?
Yeah, we sell that 35.
Boom, the Glock of the world.
Yep.
The best
But
missile.
the Glock actually works every time.
By the way, all the time.
F-35 doesn't.
Well, it's
That's
not
a
perfect.
fucking scam.
But wait a minute. So we sell a semi inferior product, right?
Yes.
But we do have the most supreme product.
It is
Not
very...
the F-35, but what do we sell? What do we have? We have the best.
Oh, the Raptor 22.
The Raptor.
Raptor 22. We don't sell that to anybody.
We don't
That's
sell
how
that to
good it
any-
is.
That's how badass it is.
They're like, no, we're going to keep that one for ourselves.
yeah. By the way, we use that as a selling point to say that's our what we call technical support.
Yeah.
For the F-35.
Yeah.
So whenever you don't feel like you got enough. Oh, it's not working right. Oh, don't worry. We'll send the F-22 over. We'll just bill you later.
So the F-35, and we could do a whole nother thing on this, but this thing has become just an absolute gong show of all the every country's producing their own parts. We're trying to do an interlocking thing. Like, it just doesn't perform. They ground the fleet all the time.
Yep.
Only a percentage of the fleet is ready to go of the F-35s at any one time.
Right.
And all the planes around the world are all U.S. flags that can fly. Germany can't get their planes off the ground. I'm not like, so NATO
Yeah.
does need to exist. The block of NATO needs to exist.
Yeah.
But this massive, essentially it's essentially a selling weapons program.
Right.
Now before, and this is where we messed up a long time ago, they traded in US dollars. We let them get away with starting to trade in euros. Then the Middle Eastern people started trading.
Hello, bricks.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, we're going to create bricks to throw at you.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
way.
So this
Yeah.
whole thing is kind of getting away from us. Okay, this was back in 2017 or 18. Trump goes to visit NATO.
Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. And I think we have to talk to Germany about it. On top of that, Germany is just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the United States in actual numbers is paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. So I think that's inappropriate also. We're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting everybody, and yet we're paying a lot of money to protect. Now, this has been going on for decades. This has been brought up by other presidents, but other presidents never did anything about it because I don't think they understood it or they just didn't want to get involved. But I have to bring it up because I think it's very unfair to our country. It's very unfair to our taxpayer. And I think that these countries have to step it up, not over a 10-year period. They have to step it up immediately. Germany is a rich country. They talk about they're going to increase it a tiny bit by 2030. Well, they could increase it immediately tomorrow and have no problem. I don't think it's fair to the United States. So we're going to have to do something because we're not going to put up with it. We can't put up with it, and it's inappropriate. So we have to talk about the billions and billions of dollars that's being paid to the country that we're supposed to be protecting you against. You know, everybody's talking about it all over the world. They'll say, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to be protecting you from Russia, but why are you paying billions of dollars to Russia for energy? Why are countries in NATO, namely Germany, having a large percentage of their energy needs paid, you know, to Russia and taken care of by Russia? Now, if you look at it, Germany is a captive of Russia because they supply. They got rid of their coal plants. They got rid of their nuclear.
Germany is a captive of Russia. That is when I was like, all right, this is my guy.
Yeah, of course.
This is my guy.
But I want you to notice something. Look at the other three members that they're
God, they're uncomfortable.
But see, that's the whole
Who's
thing.
the lady that was
That's Kaylee Bailey Hutchison.
Yeah, she's from Texas,
from
right?
Dallas,
Yeah.
from Dallas Fort Worth. Yeah, she was. We knew she was friends of mine. Were on her chief of staff. You look at Mike Pompeo. You know, you look at what's his name, Kelly, over there. You know me, Kyle. You've been out with me.
Yeah.
I'm not a quiet guy. I'm kind of a loud guy. I am kind of a disruptor guy.
Yeah.
And you notice the niceties or the cultural norms not being around me. Like, I'm just, you know. It's because I look at things like Trump does. It's a common sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I don't know what is going on with you guys, but you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what is the issue? So Trump is coming in like a bull in the china shop. And they are totally uncomfortable about it because when you work in government, how dare you be a loud person or being a person that talks? How dare you point the most obvious thing in the room? And Trump is just literally pointing the most obvious thing in the room.
Right.
And they are just totally just like, oh, this guy should not be in government. Government should be full of these other people that just understand the diplomacy.
The bureaucrats.
The bureaucratic way of not going. And Trump saying, like, you guys are like, do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Do it right now. Stop it, you know? And it's amazing. So, 100%. You know, if you're in business or you ever done something where you have to point out to a politician that this needs to be done today. No. Today. This has got to be done right now. People are suffering.
Yeah.
Only then do you sometimes you get some empathy within your world.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time, you're going to be looked at like,
are you crazy?
yeah,
Lunch is in 45 minutes.
I have to go. I mean, when I worked at DC, I saw 4:30 the secretaries in the offices were putting their shoes on, and I saw the phone calls not getting answered. I'm answering the phone, and they're looking at me like, how dare you, don't answer the phone at 4:30. We leave at 5. You need to stop answering the phone at 4:30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I feel this sense of, like, I guess the way we were raised of doing my job. But then everybody.
But they don't like that. They start not liking you because you're not being mediocre.
You are not listening to us. You're doing too much.
It's not even that you're not being mediocre. You're not being mediocre. You're not doing like, you're not like, whoa, this is you're 4 or 5 standard deviations away from them. You're just doing kind of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You're exposing them being like super mediocre.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I was in the President's Export Council, like, I was told, like, you know, this, when I was going to quit, like, 6 months into it, I was like, I'm done. I'm not looking at a cubicle anymore. And, you know, you saw these people like, why are you going to leave? Why would you do that? What's going on?
Right.
I don't want to be in this world. I'd rather be in this world over here. But don't you understand? Like, you're going to get all these holidays and all this G-level thing. And
Man.
And I was like, you know, I don't need that. Because I saw myself as, if I really needed that kind of security in my life, then I have some really big problems in my head. Me personally, I just believe I'll walk with faith than anything else, and I really do. I just don't I don't look at something that says, that's the way it is, Stephen. That's just, that's all there is to it. You can't do anything about it. I'll give you a good example. I'm dealing with my real estate. I've been asking to get rid of half of my property, get rid of an historical overlay. And I'm getting told by the people that run this, nope, that's the way it is. You can't get it done.
Can't do it.
I can't do it. How dare you try to take care of this thing and then you can tear down a 1920 built apartment complex. We need you to fix it up and put wood windows in there so the tenants can pay a higher electricity bill. And then when a kid breaks a wood window, it's $1,100 a window. It's like, what? Are you guys thinking about this? Nope. We have got to hold the line of keeping things historic. That's just the way it is. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, government is obviously, it is kind of that, kind of runs on the historic in a way of like, things are going to go slow.
Yeah.
Things are going to, just kind of creep along in that way. And you saw it in the video. Those people were so uncomfortable because, they've never experienced someone talking like this around them, especially so publicly. Maybe these conversations happen in private, kind of. But like, for instance, let's go back to week 1 of the Trump administration. The flight to Colombia, I believe it was, gets turned around. If I don't care, Republican or Democrat, was in the office, they would have sent a special envoy. They would have discussed it. There would have been a panel. There would have been heavily worded emails and letters for 2 months or something before anything happens. The next day, the president is sending his own planes to pick these people up.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, this guy's not messing around. Even though, I mean, they do not like each other. The countries right now are not vibing with, but we do need to start vibing with Venezuela. We need that oil, bro. We need that oil.
Well, yeah, that country's like, the infrastructure there is crazy, but like you hit it right on the money. Colombia, hear this, Colombia, how dare you?
Colombia.
I will
Venezuela.
turn the plane around and I will send it back.
Yeah.
You will take our people.
Yeah.
And then Trump's like, I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and turn off all your capital you have here in our banks.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Oh, your credit card didn't go through. Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
I can make life hell for you.
Within a second.
Yeah.
Within a second, it was done. And to bow down to, America, you got us. Here you go. I'll send my own planes. Put them on my own planes and get them back over here. We'll put them in jail or whatever we need to do with them. So, but I don't know if you saw him recently. He said cocaine is just like coffee.
He did say that. I hope it becomes as cheap as coffee because that would be awesome.
Exactly.
That would be
incredible. Yeah. Look forward to having cocaine as coffee.
Okay. We're going to go to this story. I want to ask you something. Of course, we were talking about developing in DFW.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
You saw this. Okay. They dream of building Muslim-centric neighborhoods near Dallas. Will it work? Josephine, Texas. For the members of the North Texas largest mosque, a 402-acre tract of land that straddles Collin and Hunt County is the start of a dream. The East Plano Islamic Center members hope that the dream will materialize with Epic City, a development of more than 1,000 homes. Now, essentially, long story short, they want to make no longer a Muslim exclusive because they're starting to see that they really can't do that. However, let me ask you, Chacko, would you move into that neighborhood now that they say that this is a Muslim-centric or mostly Muslim neighborhood?
Let me go, before I answer that question, let me tell you a little preface about what we talked about. I told about my dad leading with people that are vulnerable.
Yeah.
My dad wrote an article, and it was published, I think it was in the Star-Telegram, the Dallas Morning News, I don't know which one. My dad stood up for a Hindu temple being built in Dallas.
Okay.
saying the freedom of religion under U.S. Constitution allows this.
Yep.
But that was a Hindu temple for people to worship. The difference of it is that a Muslim cultural only, that's what I'm hearing. It is only that they come in, it is not open to all. It is open that you have to be a certain member of the Muslim community.
Yep.
So as Christians, we know that there's Christians that are far right, like even LDS church members that believe in, multiple wives, with the LDS church. And there's multiple people that believe, even the Baptist community doesn't believe in races getting married. So there's different variations of religion.
Sure.
So here's a Muslim culture that is saying only Muslims. So now that comes into a world where they are turning into what the LDS church has turned into. Some areas of the LDS church, they bought like towns.
Right.
Colorado City, Texas, or something like that, or Colorado, or whatever. And you're starting to see that in this community. Where I don't know all the facts on is how they're going about in doing that in the proper format. Are they violating any of the U.S. Constitution? I don't know. But if they are only for only Muslims, let's say a non-Muslim's vote tries to buy any real estate and they deny it, they violate federal law.
Yeah. Well, let me read this real quick. Community Capital Partners, that's who's putting this deal together, also said it would adhere to the Fair Housing Act, which prohibits the denial of housing to a person based off the religion or other protected classes. The organization will not enforce blanket bans on any group of people, but we will conduct thorough individual assessments of prospective buyers to ensure they align with the goals and safety and security. So, I think here's my problem with this. Right off the rip, even if they said, oh, everyone is included, yeah, anyone can move in here. Are you really welcome, though? Like, are you automatically like, yes, take me to see the houses in Epic City? Like, as a white Christian, I mean, even if I was just Christian in the same color as them.
Even a well-tanned Christian.
Even a well-tanned Christian, like.
So would it mean you go there and say, hey, by the way, we're buddies. And we're going to buy...
This is my partner.
This is my partner. And we're going to buy a place at that place. I think it's a good challenge.
We'll be like, the one side of the Episcopalian church that's
exactly.
rainbow. Like,
yeah.
No, we're the, like, what if we trolled them and been like,
100%.
We're the rainbow Muslims now.
That's
like.
right. Oh, see, there's what I'm trying to say. There's these pushes that we as society will do. Now, I think there'll be a rebellion. Personally, I believe that the value of freedom is more powerful to the human being, to the humanity of a human being. That I believe even in the Muslim world, where they will, even if they try to do Sharia or whatever kind of restrictive nature that they try to do, it only will go so far. Because I believe that within the United States and within any culture where they see freedom and people see freedom and have experienced it, it's hard to go into make them restrictive. It's the danger of China is freedom. The Chinese government do not want freedom. They're fearful of it because they're scared that society is going to figure out that they are controlling them with a boot, pretty much, or with like the weight of the world on them. North Korea is a good example of that as well. I do believe in the value of freedom, and I believe that the Muslim culture, I've seen so many supposedly Muslim-centric women turn around and say, I'm not doing that. So I think that's where the big fight will always be within their own group. I think anybody that owns a land and we're in a free market system. Me and you are. We believe in
Right.
that free market. So if we buy 100 acres and Kyle says, I want only Episcopalians in my
Yeah.
in my world over there. I'm going to be an Episcopalian priest. I want to be the priest over my flock.
My YouTube channel didn't take off, so
Exactly. Right. So yeah, like let's just say you wanted to go down that road, but I don't know. Like I do believe in the power of our freedoms in the United States that can overwhelm that.
well, okay. I like where your sentiment is at. This is one thing, and again, they're Muslims come from all walks
Correct.
of life, and of course, if you, I watched the video of the epic sales pitch. Essentially,
I did too.
these are nice ass houses, right? I mean, these are well-to-do people.
Right.
So it's not like the dystopia that you kind of see in the EU with the no-go zones.
Correct.
And like, they have refugees from Afghanistan to all the way to middle Africa. We have the no-go zones. However, there is something to be said about different cultures living amongst each other and how you have the rule of law and you allow
Right.
the police to do their job. Of course, I'm not trying to make that case for this community, but I am saying that, it is incredibly frustrating to just constantly be seeing things like this, because if I put it together 100 acres, I said, I want white Christians only.
Yeah.
We're gonna build an epic place for white Christians. I mean, the world would fall into a black hole and
Yep.
everyone would scream on the way in. It's just like,
Yeah.
what did you just say?
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
well, people want to say like, oh, well, that's all of Collin County. It's like, well, no, it's actually not. But it's like, it's just so frustrating to constantly like read stuff like this. It's like, well, hold on one second.
Right.
Like, I thought we were trying to move past this. If you don't want to move past it, then let's not move past it. We'll just all build our own castles.
Right. So there's there's a flip side to this as well. Like to your point, look at what happened to Colony Ridge, I believe, down in Houston. It was all Hispanic illegal immigrants.
Okay.
The developer was creating I think it was called Colony Ridge. But the difference of it was the developer was using the substandard of what the United States created of immigration called the ITIN numbers.
Yeah.
And they were creating these and so your viewers got to know that this whole thing about immigration, going back real quick, but immigration, Colony Ridge was designed to be for these groups that was able to get a car, home, real estate, bank accounts
Yep.
under the ITIN number, which is a sub-brand for an immigrant.
Yeah. It's like their social security number, essentially.
Correct. And it's not even, so they don't go in, they're not really going through the format of being a U.S. citizen.
Right.
They allowed this little subgroup created.
Right.
And that was designed specifically by the left to kind of say, hey, we got you something, right?
We got you something, but also, not sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but
go for it.
also the right signed off on it.
Yep.
Koch brothers kind of backed this thing, and it's coming to fruition. You're starting to see this because they needed the migration labor for all the industries.
Correct.
Continue.
So yeah, the point is going back to exactly that. And so and just real quickly on immigration, this problem of immigration is created by both the right and left because they love it.
Right.
They love the problem.
Everyone loves cheap labor.
Everybody loves cheap labor. Everybody loves a group that's going to be moving left and right, moving with the emotional world
Yep.
of, oh, we got you. We're gonna give you rights, but we really are not. We're not going to give you the ABC 1, 2, 3 simplicity about you being a U.S. immigrant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we did, then we would have these opportunities. I think there's great opportunity if we found those 1, 2, 3 ABCs. You know, the doors easy to understand.
Right. Yeah.
It would be way easier than getting for people to go through those doors.
Yes.
And raise their hand and say, I'm a U.S. citizen.
And I think this is kind of, I mean, look, the Republican Party is made up of many, many different factions, maybe more factions than the left, than the Democratic Party.
Right.
Some want no immigration, some want some. I would say the vast majority want immigration to some kind.
Right.
For instance, the migrant working population, there is something to be said about them coming and working. You have to regulate it to a point where, you know, it started off as, hey, it's crop season, right? We need the extra hand. But now it's like, it's crop season and you have a house here. And now you have kids here the whole time and they're getting birthright citizenship and this and that. And it's like, well, now you're not even leaving. You're not even you're not even seasonal labor. You're just here. And it's like, okay, and now you're taking over the construction industry, and now you're doing this, and now you're doing that. Right. And it's like, there's 18 unemployed or underemployed U.S. citizens in this country that have given up on trying to find a job. They don't want to find a job. They rather sit on their ass and collect a disability check because they lied on enough forms to say that they're incapable of working.
Right. Or they're incapable, like they're going Section 8 or affordable, like what they call affordable housing.
Right.
And, that's another racket. And I pray to God that Scott Turner, the new HUD secretary, is going to change all that.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole Muslim community.
Yeah, bring it back.
I think that the goal for that Muslim community is that, let me give it like a little bit of like a kind of a positive spin if possible.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's say that they became this society over their 100 acres, and they started. They were kind of like the Mormon church, where they did. You go to Utah. If you ever go to Utah, you feel the Mormons everywhere, but they're now creeping into like saying, "Hey, come in. We welcome everybody." The Mormon church in Utah, the LDS church, does that. They have these churches everywhere.
They're all over my Instagram. They want me to join.
Yeah, exactly. You look like a Mormon. You do. So you got that look.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock. Yeah. So it could be a beautiful thing if they could change it and make the PR to, we're wanting to be a U.S. citizen. We want to be U.S. citizens. Our religion is only Muslim, but that doesn't make us, wanting to control Americanism per se. We want to be part of the melting pot, not be a part a demanding melting pot.
A country inside of a country.
Correct. Yeah. And then you could go and you can see what they like. For example, you go over to Grand Prairie, you go to this really nice Asian community. They have this Asian area where you can go get multiple restaurants.
But is it like Asian town, or is it like we built this for us?
It is Asian town.
Right.
American citizens go there. They love it. They love the pho, and they love all the stuff, and it's open.
That's a good point. I mean, we do have Chinatown. We do have, yeah.
By the way, that's culture.
It is culture.
So culture is good because we are a melting pot.
So you think they should have
I think if they
on that point, you think
if they turned it around and it became a positive thing for the Muslim culture, and it became a thing, we are part of the Muslim culture here.
Yeah.
I don't know how. The biggest fear for a lot of our conservative world is, well, once they do that, they will expand and they will grow and they will do more than all that.
They're going to outbreed us for sure.
Well, I think they're your biggest. I think that's a. I don't know if that's a true statement, because you're looking at the Mormons, and they're breeding like crazy. They're breeding like rabbits.
Right.
So the Mormons are actually kind of like taking the challenge on more than Christians on. So, and by the way, from that Mormonism, you're seeing part of that also split off, and they turn into more Christians.
Right.
So there's a good and bad, there's yin and yang. So as a business owner and as a developer, if I was to say I wanted all my duck hunting buddies to be 100 acres, or the people that go hunting, or all the snowboarders and all that, I don't know. I don't know how to kind of like stand against that per se. The Muslim community. I don't want to say that the Muslims are doing bad things,
Right.
until they can prove to me that they're doing something bad. I kind of want to be that. I kind of want to be that little devil's advocate there on that.
Okay, fair enough, dude. I mean, that's a really good point about Chinatown or Little Italy or the little, in Dallas. Not, I mean, yeah, a little bit in Dallas, but
Yeah.
like in like the big city, you go to New York, you go to Chinatown.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. It kind of is an incubator to create, like, almost expedite the culture.
Culture.
Yeah.
Culture.
So that's a good point. I guess it depends on how it's done. Is it done
Right.
with malice or not?
Correct. That's it. Yeah.
And
you
then
hit it.
is it like everyone just goes to Chinatown? It's like overwhelmingly accepting of people coming by and stopping by and hanging out.
So Colony Ridge, for example, Colony Ridge over there.
Yeah.
That's a great example of pushing the envelope to the point where it pissed a lot of Americans off, because
Right.
it took advantage of our hospitality.
Right.
It took advantage of our system.
Yeah.
That's where you can look at it as a test case. And if they are bringing in, for example, and what I've read in part of the Muslim culture, that community, they were inviting other non-U.S. citizens of Muslims. Well, they're going to do that, and they're not going to have any regulation. That could be turning into like Colony Ridge.
That could be a problem. The article, or at least the sales pitch I saw, I mean, these were like $700,000-800,000 homes.
Yeah.
Every one of them had a pool, big ass lots.
They're being the Saudi Arabia. They're trying to make the Saudi Arabia of Texas.
Yeah.
Because if you go to Saudi Arabia, those kind of homes that they have so much oil wealth that they regeneration or whatever the oil industry is over there. So I understand I love my East Texas neighbors. I know the guys named Butch over there in East Texas. A guy named Butch is usually every small town has a guy named Butch. So I can see them going like, golly, what are they doing over here? Why are they doing it here? And I could see them being like, and I don't think any of them are being racist. I think that they're scared or they're fearful of what that culture is going to do to their society. And that's kind of I can understand where their pushback or their immediate thoughts are,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just always the unknown. And of course, when you're reading the news, you're always, reading the worst thing. Like, there's no news site that's like, hey,
Yep.
35 million people went to work today and nothing happened. Like, they got home 12 minutes early or whatever. Like,
Yep.
But one thing I do hope that they don't do is create a TIF.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about TIF, man. You have been on this, and before we get to, you have been on this thing about the TIFs, and I love hearing about it. I love learning about it. There's so many different elements to it. Why don't you kind of give everyone the 10,000-foot view, and then we're going to dive in more and more and more, and I'll just keep throwing questions at you.
So, on the other podcast for Better Dallas, at the restaurant, we talked about, I want the viewer to understand a tax incremental financing district. Now, those are big words. Mm-hmm. Tax, everybody understand property tax.
Yeah.
Incremental means what it was today and going up tomorrow. That means the escalation. And financing. So what do we know about financing? We use it as a way to buy goods and services with a little bit of money. Don't have to pay for all of it at one time. And then a district. A district is a square in real estate. So first, I think everybody needs to know real estate is where you are right now, where you're listening to this at. You might be listening to this into your car, driving on a highway or road. Well, that's real estate. You might be sitting in your house on a couch, nice couch like Kyle's, and the roof that you're looking up at and the floor that you're looking down at is real estate. So we all are common good driven. We have this one solid understanding of real estate. That's the tangible. We can see it, feel it. But this thing that was created, a tax incremental financing district, was created under the federal structure at first for areas that was what we call blighted. Areas that were designed to be, well, who wants to go in here and to redevelop, right? You could think about, for example, Katrina, I guess, is a good, maybe an example of a distressed area.
Right. Yeah, it's just absolutely thrashed.
Blighted. And so years of blight. So what they do is they create this, draw this square around this area, and it's mostly commercial.
Mostly for commercial use.
Commercial use of apartments, buildings,
Warehouses,
industry to drive traffic, to drive this area up.
Okay.
Years ago, in the late 80s, downtown Fort Worth, for example, was a blighted area.
Really?
Right. It was a blighted area.
Dang, okay.
Well, and the money in the oil and gas industry was in Fort Worth, but it wasn't in the downtown. There wasn't anything improving anything in downtown.
Okay.
In the same area south of downtown Fort Worth was an area called the medical district. And the hospitals in that medical district was like, crime's so high here, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go out to the suburbs. If city's not doing anything with it. So these groups created these TIF districts. And they said, around all the downtown, we'll create a TIF, a tax incremental financing district. And around all of the medical district, we'll create this. So what does that mean? Well, if Kyle Incorporated and Steven Incorporated have a development company, we will go invest in this area. And city says, if you go invest in, by the way, the tax incremental financing districts are supposed to be run by the cities. That's run by the municipality by Texas law.
Okay.
And under a lot of the laws in states. And they say, well, you go invest. We will hold your tax rate at the beginning when you went in.
Okay.
So when you improve the area, it goes up. Okay. So that difference is the incremental value. Make sense?
Yep.
So if we start at, let's say we all invest in this, we buy $1 million worth of land, and it's $1 million out of our pocket.
Okay.
And we know that, let's just say 1% of $1 million is $10,000. Yep. In the next year, after we put some money in and we fix this area up, we know the value is at $2 million. Okay. And that means $20,000 of property tax or whatever.
I should be paying $20K.
Correct. So what they'll say is, well, you pay 10 into the pot of the general fund, and we'll rebate that other 10 into a fund that you can use for more projects.
A separate pot.
They're
still paying the money. It just goes into a separate pot. Okay.
But nobody else can touch that except your group.
Okay.
So nobody else can come out and use that.
Okay.
So it's designed that way, and you would think common sense says what? Maybe 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, I would say if somebody's going to build a big factory, I'd give them like 10 years, something like that. Right. You got to make it worth it.
Right. So we can agree to that is not a good idea for 10 or 10 years.
Yeah.
The average is 25 to 30 years.
That's a crazy amount of time.
Correct. So it becomes a political football.
Yeah.
When a city like Colleyville wants to build a stadium, and they need to do the bond package, they're going to go back to the taxpayers and say, hey, Colleyville, we need more money to build the stadium.
Yep.
What they'll do is they can put some funding and say, hey, we're going to create a TIF for that.
Yep.
Okay. But let me go back to Colleyville real quick and show you a good version of a TIF.
Okay.
So they took the money out of on Highway 26, and they were doing a huge construction project on Highway 26, and they said, "Ooh, this is going to be a lot, 5 or 6 years of hard work, and nobody's really going to go to those restaurants and those bars over there. So what we'll do is we'll take the money from that we're going to create the TIF on the street on the highway." And we're going to rebate that funds into the fund, TIF fund, okay?
Yeah.
The incremental value of the area. Because these businesses are going to start improving, the more road gets better done. They took the money and they put it in a separate fund, but Colleyville did was, we don't want to use all that money for ourselves. We want to implement economic stimulation to those restaurants on Highway 26.
Okay.
So they gave everybody in Colleyville that's a household a $35 gift card to any one of those restaurants on that street
Yeah.
that participated. Economic stimulation.
Yeah.
Do we agree? That's their money. They gave it back to the citizens. They go back and use it in the restaurants. Now, let's think about it. That's a good version. And by the way, it's been written up at the University of Arkansas about the Colleyville TIF.
Huh.
It was written up in a positive light.
TCU couldn't come up with something? Damn.
Well, let's talk about that. So now we go to what happened in downtown Fort Worth and in Southside Fort Worth.
Oh, boy.
So now, what if these districts over there in downtown Fort Worth, the families that run that, okay, the people that run that say to their lawyers, well, the Bass family comes to downtown and says, hey, we have a lot of money. I want to help improve all downtown Fort Worth.
Yes.
I want to give all my oil and gas funds, I'm going to put it in and help all that downtown. I want to build my Bass Hall and all this stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. And the lawyers say, hey, you never heard of this thing called a TIF? You know what we'll do? We'll do all this work for you, Fort Worth. But instead of you, the municipality, running it,
Yeah.
we're going to create a private nonprofit, and we're going to create membership fees in our nonprofit, like a country club, and you're going to let us run those tax dollars. Because you got to remember, that fund, that rebate fund, is tax dollars.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody ever says those are not that's our money is completely false.
Yeah.
They're not giving it back to the general fund. They're giving it to their fund.
Yeah.
So those are tax dollars. So when the downtown started doing it, the Basses started doing it, the lawyers got involved and said, hey, we'll create this private thing. We'll create it like a private country club.
Right.
Membership fees, if you want to come in, and we'll run it. And by the way, it's under the nonprofit cloak, which means nobody can see it.
No one can see what they're doing with the money that should be going into the general fund.
Correct.
If it was just taxed normally.
Correct.
Just
So
like
now-
everyone else's.
So imagine a year ago, for example, a gentleman that bought a hotel down there, fixed it up, and he says, hey, I put in this new kind of really trendy electrical system called Power over Ethernet. And I am going to create called Sinclair, a digital group. And I took this old property, I put this really cool thing in, and oh yeah, I'm going to have 60 staff members on my staff. And I put this thing, and they'll call it infrastructure. That TIF fund gave him $10 million in a grant
And a grant.
out of that fund.
Okay.
And they had to go in front of the city council to get it approved. And the people that run that downtown TIF, called Downtown Inc., went and said, hey, this is a good thing, in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And the one guy gets $10 million. And he says, oh yeah, I'm going to teach people about power over Ethernet. Kyle, you would think that he invented power over Ethernet.
Yeah.
He didn't invent it. That's not his deal. He just took wiring and put it in his hotel. And then he says, I'm doing something and I'm doing something so remarkable that I need that money back.
Yeah, he just rewired his hotel.
He's rewired his hotel with this product. So that's
You need to update the electrical boxes. Let's fix some bullshit up.
So then you watch it. Nobody sees it because remember, nobody can see the fund.
Right.
Nobody can see how much money's in it.
Sure.
But then the same 2 months later, City Council in Fort Worth is like, we can't afford to do a tax cut for the citizens. This tough thing. And I'm sending messages to my city council reps like, hey, where's that $10 million?
Yeah.
What about that money? Oh, because guess what? That's in a TIF. That's not in the general fund.
Yeah. It's word. They're playing word games.
Correct. So they can't touch it. But certain people can touch it, but the city council can't touch it. We don't see it.
No.
As citizens, we're not aware of it. Now, imagine now downtown does that, and now the South Side area does it. Mm-hmm. And that's by the Moncriefs, the other billionaire family. And they said, hey, if they can do it, why can't we do it?
Right.
So we'll do it, but now we'll create private country club membership fees. Their average is $350 a year, to be a part of their membership of near Southside Southside TIF district.
Yeah.
It's called Near Southside. And it was on the website of the city of Fort Worth. Clear as day, it said administered by Southside Inc., which is near Southside.
Sure.
It was clear as day, said that, of course, somebody critiqued, I probably was me, and said, hey, that shouldn't be run that way, and then they took it off or whatever. But we all know they were running it. And it's a private, nonprofit country club type of product. What if it was run by the leadership of bankers? What if that was run by bankers, and if they don't like that side of the neighborhood, they're not going to give you the loan to value that they give that side within the TIF. So let's understand that.
And just real quick, if as an investor, if I can buy a property that comes with a TIF, automatically has a better evaluation.
Boom.
Yeah.
And they go around. So this is exactly verbatim what happened to me. I have a multifamily property that I wanted to fix up back in 2015. Had about $100,000. I went to the bank my tenants were literally walking over to the bank. Everybody knew my bank, my tenants, and putting the money in. And I went to the bank and I said, I want to borrow money. First thing they did, they didn't give me even an application. They sent a guy over there to try to buy my property. It was a friend of theirs that was like, hey, I'll buy it from him. I'm like, I'm not here to sell it. I want to fix it up. I want to be playing with the big boys.
Right.
So anyway, I complained, and then the commercial lender for the Southside Bank named Chacko comes over. He looks at my real estate. He knows I have no debt on it. And he says, you're good. You're in the TIF. Well, I didn't understand what word he's saying. I'm like, okay, cool. He says, I had $100,000 from the insurance proceeds. And he says, yeah, it's 85-15 loan to value. You got more than 15% for the $1 million you need to borrow. Okay? So the TIF will provide 10% of the total loan. My total loan was $1 million.
Uh-huh.
So 10% of the total loan is $100,000.
Yeah.
That TIF will provide 10% free and clear.
Nice.
So
it's like an SBA loan, kind of how they underwrite it.
Yeah, because remember, they have a fund over there. They've been sitting on a fund. And they run that. The bankers run it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they say to me, hey, cool. You got 100,000. You got 50. We got the 100. We're good. We'll give you the $1 million. Cool. 2 hours later, calls me and says, oh, Steve, I'm sorry. You're not in that TIF. That TIF ended on that side of the street over there on Allen. Even though it's the same name neighborhood, Fairmount Historical District.
Right.
They drew the line. They drew half of Fairmount they wanted in. They drew this side of Fairmount they wanted out.
Yeah.
Or what they call carved out.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is, I'd say that's cool, no big deal. I can get about $50,000. I know I'm not going to get that 10% from my total loan. I'll borrow, get some $50,000 from some friends. Oh, no. That 85-15 loan to value is not that for you. It's 60-40 for you.
Damn.
Boom.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? wait a minute. On that side, it's 85-15. And on this side, is 60-40. I have no debt.
Right.
I have no debt. My property is worth over almost close to $2 million. Why can't I borrow the equity to get it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that's what started me out fighting this. Because all this funding that they're doing, they're manipulating the game.
Yeah. So they even not only now did they say the value was different though once they figured out what side of the street?
Yeah.
Like the appraisal value?
Yes, because when you're not on their side of the street,
Also it's worth less.
there it is.
But we'll buy it from you.
We'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
Because they'll send their friends. So, by the way, this is not within 100% truth. In 2020, that group near Southside
Yeah.
that runs that TIF, remember it's all bankers, in the middle of COVID, Kyle, I get a call saying, we're going to do rezoning. And I'm like, none of my tenants are working. They've been told they're not essential, right? And they said, you can't go back to work, whatever. So I go, and the Texas Open Meetings Act was suspended. So by Abbott, thank you, Abbott, but there was no accountability. I go on these things called Zoom calls, and none of my mostly minority business owners are on the calls.
Yeah.
So I say, hey guys, what's going on? There's nobody here. We need to stop whatever this rezoning is right now, and we need to wait till after COVID, okay? They refuse. Kyle,
Yeah.
you push me once, you push me twice, you push me twice, you try to get me mad, I will rally.
Sure.
I got 260 petitions. I signed with all my neighbors and my business owners, and I turned it in an hour before the vote, and I stopped that rezoning in their tracks.
Yep. There you go.
Right.
There you go.
But what was the goal of the rezoning? The goal of rezoning was a near South Side group pushing that old area, all our area, under their standard of development. So we can't develop, we have to go through them.
Yeah.
And we had to go, not just pulling a permit to the city. We pull a permit, we go to them to ask their permission.
Yeah. Like it's their
develop.
fiefdom.
They're like an HOA, worse than an HOA.
Yeah.
It's a complete con, and that's what's going on. So they run a tax or criminal financing district. It is completely illegal under the Texas Department, all the laws in Texas. It must be run by municipality. But the minute they put it under these two groups, and by the way, Kyle, there's TIFs all over the United States.
Yeah.
There's only two that are run like a country club. And both of them are in Fort Worth, Downtown Inc. and near Southside. Complete, utter frauds. And they're the ones that are literally picking winners and losers. Riata, if you heard about Riata Grill, they got moved out of downtown area. That Sasha Bass and them, she's shutting down a lot of those businesses over there. Well, why would you as a realtor developer shut down all your businesses over there and make it empty?
Yeah. Well, you can buy the properties cheaper.
She owns them all. So her goal was what? To distress it.
Yeah.
To get more money from the TIF.
Gotcha.
So she can borrow more money
to rehab or
to do whatever she wants. Exactly. That's how the con works. It's a complete con, and it's the more the people get involved. And I pray what's going on in Florida. You're seeing in Florida, hey, we're going to get rid of property tax. No more. Let's go. I think that's a beautiful thing. We have to go to consumption tax. Consumption tax, sales tax, it'll make the money. We can make the money back. The property taxes in the United States, especially in Texas, are one of the most manipulated dollars by our city councils, by our school boards, by everything.
There's so many different ways to play game. I mean, that's the point of the tax code, though, is to kind of push people one way or another to incentivize them to do one thing or another.
Right. It's incentivize, but I would also say if you're not inside baseball with them, you're out. Right.
Yeah. The really sharp people know how to play it.
Right. Well, the sharp people that know how to pay money into the political realm, right? So if I paid into, I guess, the right people politically, I can get my deals done quicker, right?
Yeah.
But
for sure.
But me and you, we do believe in the value of free market.
Yeah.
And we have this thing called a conscience.
Yeah.
How dare us?
Yeah.
How dare us have a conscience? And
It sucks having one too, because
does.
I read those headlines. I'm like, they got how much?
yeah.
Oh, we're just struggling, just
Yeah.
grinding out every single day.
We
And
are
they're
sitting there like, yeah.
wow, Stacey Abrams got $2 billion or whatever for doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's like,
so exactly.
Cool.
Me and you can't get a dime.
yeah,
And just real quickly, let's talk about COVID. COVID, one of the most egregious
yep.
things in the United States. They told my tenants don't go to work.
Yeah.
They told my tenants not to pay the rent.
And then they also said, don't worry, your landlord can't kick you out.
Yes, and the landlord cannot get any PPP loans.
Yeah.
Did you know none of us could get a PPP loan?
Yep.
And we got to go jump through the hoops with the rental assistance, utility assistance program, I'm still down over $450,000. The city, for example, in Fort Worth, had a 24-month portal for our tenants for rental assistance. Stephen, you can only apply, and I was helping them. I was authorized representative for my tenants because you got to remember, they owe me.
Right.
They owe
Yeah.
me.
Now you got to play a
I'm
game
over
to get
here
your money.
like trying to get the money out. I don't want to kick them out.
Yeah.
I know it's not their fault. And I'm like, and they're trying to get jobs now. They're trying to go back in the workforce. They lost those jobs. Those jobs are gone.
Right.
You know? And so now I'm over here like trying to get my tenants, okay, let's fill this out. And then they said, oh, that 24-month portal you see there, you can only apply for 15. What?
Yeah.
What about the remainder? They're actually down 26 months. You're saying that they can't get the rest? We're going to give you that first, and then we'll give you maybe 4 more months later, and then we'll maybe see what else we have.
Yeah.
It's completely fraud. And then you really look at all the money where they went. American Rescue Plan funds, the Biden administration's greatest gift to the administrative state was the American Rescue Plan funds of the most unaccountable funding, of the most horrific money. That's what really is. When you really look at these cities and these communities and people that took that money, really look at those facts, and you start seeing what happened when we were down on these. They did the what I call the Eric Holder method. When we were down and out, they said kick them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If the FBI want to get a bunch of perp walks and like get back their trust in the public, they start looking at that. They start looking at all these things Dozier bringing up. They're gonna have case after case where it's like, and then everyone's like, you know what, FBI, you know, pretty good.
We pray to God that does happen, because that's the only way. We have to get the rights. We have to get law and order back. And no matter where you are in the United States, a person that works in the city or the municipality or the county or whatever, that takes these dollars in, they're supposed to go to the people.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work, if you're not doing this out of the kindness of your heart, or you're not doing this out of being a good steward or citizen of the United States, then don't go work in government. This is not where you should choose your role.
Right.
If you want to make billions of dollars and be a millionaire and all that, go out there and do the struggle like every entrepreneur. Go do that hard work. Go do that. That's what we chose. I chose to be a bartender and save my money. I chose to stay behind and save all my money and buy my real estate cash.
Yeah. I
didn't choose to be a part of the political system so I can make political favors. I'm not here to turn into what I call an actor toward these people, because that's what I think is complete fraud of these guys. And I'm not saying every politician's a bad person.
Sure.
I think that even the city council, 90% of my city council in Fort Worth, for example, don't even have a clue what a tax or criminal financing district is.
Yeah.
And they don't have a clue about the fraud. They just were like, and you can hear them on the city councils in Dallas County and Fort Worth County, and they'll say, well, thank you, city staff. Thank you, city staff. Well, that's the same city staff, just like in federal government. That's the same group that needs to be canceled out and cut. 45%, 100%. I think 90%. I say 90% of municipalities need a 40% cut in the staffing. I think we need to do that. I think that needs to happen.
Well, I mean, you've definitely spent a lot of time with him, so it's hard for me to say. I mean, I know. See, I just speak pretty much what I know personally, and I've worked for government. I'm a reservist, so I'm with the DoD. Everyone knows Republican and Democrat all very excited about DoD cuts because it's just so blatantly obvious of the waste, fraud, and abuse there. Now maybe that's true, municipality.
There's a difference, though. You're willing to take a gun.
Well,
You're willing to be the defense,
yeah.
right? That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean it's
In the
definitely
game,
different.
in the
but
game of government, you're the defense.
sure,
You're not the offense. You're not writing policies.
yeah,
You're actually defending the sovereignty of our United States.
sure, yeah. I'm just from my personal experience, like everyone talks about getting a government job because it's easy. You don't do anything, 2-hour lunches, and then so like my experience with having to purchase parts and tools and I mean it's like damn dude they are charging double what if I could just go to Home Depot if I had a credit card
Exactly.
a government credit I could just go to the Home Depot or the whatever was on base at the time and buy the same stuff that like it's just is cheap and I'm like this is crazy.
Why?
So,
Yeah.
and again, it all comes back to a racket. So that's what I'm looking forward to the next couple months. But man, it's been awesome. I know we've only touched on we touched on the TIF, but I know you got a lot to say, and hopefully we can get you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next
Looking
week
forward to
or
it. Yeah.
start doing some more episodes, talking more taxes, policy, and anything else. Any last words before we sign off?
I think it's a great discussion. I think the only way to do the change in our society is to show sunlight on the problem, throw sunshine on the problem or light on the problem. Talk about it again,
Yeah.
and then take actionable items. I think that society right now it's at a turning point in the United States. I think that the American citizen is really fed up with, for example, in property taxes in Texas, buying some real estate and then paying again
Yeah.
thousands upon thousands of dollars to
Just stay in it.
you know? And, everything you hear from the politicians, oh, well, you're giving you relief. Yeah, my relief is to leave me the hell alone.
Right.
Oh, leave me alone.
Yep. Or what the state will give you relief, but now the local entity will re-raise because they know that they can.
Exactly.
So it's a constant shifting game, and it's like most people are out here just trying to, just be good parents and maybe get a Saturday night at Chili's or something. And it's just like, fuck, dude, I got to go be a criminal or something. Tax fraud just makes things happen with myself.
No, this is a great opportunity. Like you're really hitting on subjects that we need to talk about. We need to throw light on these issues and really bring people to the table.
Yeah.
Ask their opinions, provide the facts, and just get everybody involved. Get very active, So it's cool, man.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you sitting here and chit chat with me. YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share the show. We will be back next week. Thank you so much.